our first major tournament of the season, the Div Cup Finals, and it was a banger. We finally got to see Pete versus Pollo off spawn in a proper tournament. It was as exciting as we're all hoping. We had Savage versus Fredoxy, which ended up in a lot of drama. Savage had some not too nice things to say about Fredoxy, potentially now griefing him. I also want to talk about how Clix potentially lost the Cash Cup because of a bug. I'll talk about which teams are doing well, which ones are struggling, and at the end of today's video, I want to break down the huge aim assist buff that just went out, and is it actually going to make a difference? There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Let's kick off with NA, and we're obviously going to talk about the spawn fight. Now, I'm not going to show any of the clips because these do start to get a bit repetitive, but I'll run you through exactly how it went down. So a lot of people are going to tell you the off spawn score is now 3-3. It was all tied up. P won 3, Pollo won 3. But honestly, I think it's a little bit different to that. There was two games that I think that Peterbot's team, you argue one of them, a lot of people are saying they lost, and a lot of people are saying they won one of them. So one of them was a bit weird because we had Pete's team versus Pollo, and then Marius came in and third party. Now, while Marius' team was making their way in, they were dealing damage, they were applying pressure, they were active in the fight. But when Pete and Pollo's team actually went at each other, because this spawn fight dragged out a little bit, Pete was the last man standing, or specifically Ritual. Ritual was the last man alive. He then ended up going down to Marius as well, but a lot of people are saying that Pete's team won this spawn fight because Ritual was the last man standing, so if Marius wasn't there, they would have won it. Now, this is a little bit interesting though, because while Marius is working his way in, he was definitely dealing a lot of damage and applying pressure, and the reason why the spawn fight ended up happening the way it did is because of Marius. So I don't know if it's fair to say that was a clean 3v3. You know, Pete's team won it, and then Marius just happened to clean up, so Pete wins it. So that one, I'm kind of giving like to no one. I don't think anyone won it, or at the very least, it was basically a tie. Now, there was another game that I think Pollo's team clearly won off spawn. They managed to take down everyone except for Ritual again. Cold and Peterbot went down. Pollo's whole trio was still standing, and then Ritual disengaged. He managed to get the reboots off, and they actually managed to go on and get some points out of that game. They got a 5 elim 15, so they weren't completely beaten, but they did lose the spawn fight. Pollo's team was left as a full trio. They got all of the loot in Demon's Domain. They ended up hunting down Pete's team in the mid game. So I don't know whether you give that one to Pollo either. So it's kind of like a 2-2. Like there was two kind of fights or a bit of a tie. I don't really know if a team won it. Honestly, I'm going to give it to Pollo. I think even though Ritual went on to clutch that game and get reboots, Pollo's team clearly won the spawn fight. So I think it's fair to say it's 3, 2, and then 1. I know that's a little bit boring. If you're a Pete fan and you want to count that off spawn fight where Ritual was left alive and Marius came and spoiled it, you be my guest. I'm not going to argue that against you. It can go either way. It depends what you consider the spawn fight. But either way, no one took the big edge. There wasn't one team completely running away with it. But we did have one team performing a bit better on the overall leaderboard. Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot finishing in 7th overall on 221 points because they got a 17 kill 4th and a 14 kill 3rd. And as you can see, their other 3 games, well, 3 of the games they went down on spawn, and then that game 1 where they had the split, they got a 15th. But if you look at Aegis, Acorn, and Pollo, they didn't do as well with the games they made it off spawn. They got a 14 elim 2nd in the very last game, which really clutched up their points. Otherwise, they were way down the leaderboard. Then they got a 7 elim 11th and a 5 elim 11th. So Pollo's team not able to do as well as Peterbot with the games they made it off spawn, but overall, neither of them did that particularly well. But a 10th and 7th more conned in 6 games out of 6 by, you know, the other best team on the region. That's kind of crazy. It is worth mentioning at this point, I think there is 0 chance either of these teams leave to go the Superman POI. The leaks have come out. It doesn't even have a mythic. It's in a terrible spot of the map. I don't think that's changing anything. So at this point, if Peterbot or Pollo's team do not leave and go to another drop, the only other drop that makes any sense is Supernova, but Clix is dominating over there, they're going to be spawn fighting the entire season coming into Grands. I can't believe it, but that just looks how it's going to go at this point. We've spent a lot of videos talking about that spawn fight. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I want to focus on some winners. We had Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts bringing it home on 414 points, playing 6 matches and winning 3 of them. Now, a lot of people had their concerns about this trio. I'm going to happily admit I had my concerns about this trio. I'm close with all of these players. I've made a bunch of YouTube content with Bolts. I'm in the same August Kanata. We've been hanging out for years now. Rapid is one of my longest subs in my Twitch stream. I love these guys, but I had almost no faith in them as a trio because when they split up, the things they said about each other gave me no hope they could overcome those vibes. But they've proven me and a lot of people very wrong here. 6 matches, winning 3 of them is an insane match history. They had one game, there was a 4 elim 17th, but outside of that, their match history was ridiculous. Now, Clix, Higgs, and Iomzo in second place on 367, pretty far down. You know, they're about 50, 60 points behind them. It doesn't seem like it was that close, but going into the last game, Clix's team was actually ahead of Canada by 1 elimination. This was such an exciting close tournament, but in the very last game, I have to mention Iomzo's PC lost power. This wasn't a Fortnite bug. This power went out. Iomzo crashed. Clix and Higgs had to try to clutch it up as a duo. They got a 3 elim 7th, and because Canada got a 9 elim win, he overtook them. Now, there is a bit of drama around this one. Obviously, people saying Clix's team should have won. This sucks. Canada, you didn't actually win. A lot of people saying this in Canada's stream, and I'll let him speak for it. He had this to say.
You can't lie, Clix would have won if Iomzo didn't crash. How is you guys still coping? We won the last game. We dead won the last game, bro. Yo, we dead won the last game. Are we still dead coping right now? Are we dead still coping?
Now, before you guys get too upset or too offended, this is right after Canada won. He literally won the last game and instantly went live, so his vibes were high. He was obviously very emotional, but I think it is kind of fair to say. Now, I absolutely hate when there's tech issues like this. I said this live on stream before I even knew who won. I said as soon as Iomzo crashed, if Clix's team doesn't win, it's going to feel a little bit rough because it's always, you know, coulda, woulda, shoulda. What would have happened? What could have happened? Iomzo's team could have won. But like Canada just said, they got a 9-kill win in the last game. You can't get better than a win. You have to imagine they still would have won the tournament, but Clix, Higgs, and Iomzo had won 2 matches of their 6 games as well. Between these 2 trios, they got 5 of the 6 wins. So again, I fully understand why Clix, Higgs, or Iomzo fans are going to say Clix's team could have won that last game, and they very well could have. They were extremely stacked in that last game. They had every chance of winning it, but that you can't take it away from Rapid Canada Bolts. They played fantastic. That is a non-LAN team doing it out of Crime City. Crime City is a solid drop, but it is not this good. They made it look phenomenal. They played for the island every game. They were super aggressive, and honestly, they looked like a tier 1 team. I'm really excited to see how Canada's team does this season. Clix, Higgs, and Iomzo, obviously looking like one of the best teams on the map right now. Supernova Academy, incredible. Almost every single game, they fought boxcars to try to lock down the Spire. I think Clix's team had the exotic shotgun like 3 or 4 games. You might be thinking, oh, WRNG, oh my god, they're so lucky, but realistically, they're taking the early and mid-game aggressive fights they need to on those Spires to lock down that loot, and they're winning it. So they played really well. The other win that didn't go to Clix or Rapid's team ended up going to Reed, Cooper, and Curly coming 3rd place overall on 330 points, and then we had a pretty solid drop down the leaderboard to Booga. So the top 3 all looking really good. Again, Clix and Reed's team already having those LAN spots booked, but Rapid and Booga do not have their LAN spots. They're looking extremely solid. We had G-Money, Virgo, and Rise. So out of the new trios that split, Rise versus Muzz, Rise did manage to push out Muzz's team, but Muzz's team not too far behind in 6th place on 234. Then we have Peterbot in 7th, who I've already talked about. Taki, Ishu, and Vert in 8th. Noisy, Creon, and Tony in 9th. And then Aegis, Acorn, and Pollo to round out the top 10 on NA. I want to give a specific shout out to Bolts here and Kinch for getting these stats. If you guys don't know, Kinch is on the broadcast. He runs all the stats and posts them so you guys can see how well each player is doing. And right now, this one is ridiculous. Bolts did 6,672 damage. The most damage in the lobby. Impressive, but it gets better. Elims 18, 41 assists, but this is the one that does it. A damage ratio of 3.36. If you guys don't follow Comp Fortnite, don't know damage ratios, it's very simple. For every 1 damage that Bolts took, he dealt 3.36 damage. That is absurd. In a meta where most people are getting their damage just by trading Surge, sitting on a ramp and shooting shots and getting hit back and popping minis and popping bigs, then shooting again, being able to deal over 3 times the amount of damage you took is insane. Bolts right now is absolutely popping off, and I want to give a shout out to Rapid as well, because I think it's also Rapid's IGLing to not only put this team in phenomenal positions like the island, but also how many times this team got height in endgame basically for free. They took almost no damage, perfect height takes, and that allows Bolts to just absolutely fry the lobby without being under pretty much any pressure himself. So a phenomenal effort from Bolts. I really do want to take the chance to shout him out specifically. That is an insane performance. Now, moving on to EU, and they have their own big spawn fight. Mr. Savage, Chap, and Rezon up against Chino, Pablo, and Fredoxy. Now, this one again went, I would say, 4-2 on the day to Frodoxy. Savage getting the 2, but again, you know, maybe the Frodoxy fans don't want to count one of those 2. There was a game basically where Savage and Chat both went down early. Rezon managed to dip out as a solo and managed to catch Frodoxy's team going for the shrine. Missed the very easy pump on Frodoxy, took him down. Third parties came in, wiped the team. We then managed to see Rezon go back into Supernova, get the cards, get out, and reboot. And then Savage and Chap got to kind of play that game out. They all ended up going down early anyway. It wasn't a fantastic game, but a lot of people still calling this a win off spawn because they still managed to get back in and reboot. Again, you can discount or count that if you want, but across the board, Chino, Pablo, and Frodoxy did have the better of Savage's team, and it shows on the leaderboard. Frodoxy's team coming in 14th overall, 164 points, which I don't think, I'm not going to lie, is a phenomenal performance for having won 4 games off spawn. They got a 12 elim win game 1, and I thought, oh man, this is going to be a bloodbath. But after that, they didn't really have too many good games. Their other best game was an 8 elim 14th. But we saw this a lot last season where Frodoxy's team was winning a lot on spawn against Venom and some of the other teams trying to lock down Mars Meadows. But then when they finally got it uncontested or won those spawn fights, they didn't go on to convert them into really solid games. And it's one of the reasons why I didn't think Frodoxy was going to do that well last grand finals. I'll openly say it. And then he proved me very, very wrong, coming second in grand finals when they were finally uncontested and started focusing purely on being uncontested. That's when they started to really pop off. So I don't know if this is a case of that or they did just misplay on the day. I'm not really sure. They were playing extremely aggressive around the spawn fight. Even some games instantly taking down Savage's team to run over and third-party Mongrel spawn fight against Pradage and try and take them down. Again, Mongrel spawn fight not going too hot. I would probably give that one 5 wins to Pradage and 1 to Mongrel. It was a pretty rough day for them, and if you check the leaderboard, you can see that Chat, Mr. Savage, and Rezon coming last on 33rd on 12 points. Mongrel, Kaido, and Hydro doing slightly better, coming 31st on 18 points. And seeing 2 of the GOATs that low on the leaderboard, it definitely stung. It was a rough day, and it wasn't without its drama either. Mr. Savage, as soon as the tournament was over, went and played some Counter-Strike. Frodoxy made this tweet at the end of the tournament, you know, building an L sign and showing that they, you know, made money and Savage didn't. And then in the replies showed Savage coming 33rd, and unfortunately Savage didn't like that, and he had this to say.
Bro, what is this tweet, bro? 5 won $3,600 with an L, bro. Like, good shit, bro. You've played Fortnite for 8 years and you made $100,000, bro. If you would have worked in a fucking Burger King restaurant, you would have made more than that in half the time, bro. You live in your mom's basement. You have no education.
A lot of people now saying after Frodoxy already said he wanted to grief Savage and chase him around the map and contest him wherever he is because he hates Chap, it's probably not going to make him feel a lot better about this team now. But I don't really know what's going to happen here. People in my chat saying that Rezon was potentially talking about moving drops on his stream when he was watching NA, but it's in German. I can't really find the clips and I can't really translate it, so I can't promise you that was said anyway. I really don't know what the plan is here. Across the board, Frodoxy did look better off spawn, and a lot of people are expecting that. Frodoxy is known as being one of the best spawn fighters in the world. It's the reason why he's coached so many other teams in off spawns, including Mr. Savage. Mr. Savage himself has gone to Frodoxy for coaching in off spawn fights, so he understands how good Frodoxy is. But honestly, Savage's drops were really solid. Savage actually locked in for this spawn fight. His drops are amazing, but you could call it like the RNG. They weren't getting the good guns they deserve for having the best drops, but also I think that does come down to Frodoxy. One of the main reasons why he is so good off spawn is he really understands these drop spots and how to maximize loot, and then how to play if they get bad loot versus good loot. It's so honestly, I don't know how much of it I can call down to luck because I haven't watched a lot of other good teams go at it at Supernova Academy. It's hard to figure out exactly how this spawn fight goes, but you know, there was definitely a feeling from Mr. Savage's side at least that they should have done better than what they did if they got a bit luckier, and maybe that thought might keep Mr. Savage's team contesting Frodoxy. But again, Frodoxy has a land spot, Savage doesn't. A lot of people saying, you know, Savage without a land spot, why are you trying to go the best drop on the map? There's no chance you're going to get that uncontested, so what's the point? So I guess we'll see what happens for these trios. I hope something changes, either, you know, Savage or Mongrel's team start absolutely popping off, because seeing them both so far down the leaderboard was really, really sad. As for who won the Cash Cup, we had none other than our FNCS champions, Vanya, Pixie, and Marius, backing up, winning grand finals last season with winning the first major tournament of this season, in first on 321 points, but 5 matches, 3 wins. This team did not load into their 6th game. They got a Q bug, none of them got in, and they still won the tournament because they won 3 of their 5 matches. Insane. They got a 0 kill 12th game 1, not too hot. Then it was a 12 kill win, 9 kill win, 2 2-kill 12th, and a 7-kill win. So absolutely phenomenal performance from this trio. They're looking extremely solid in the Eval Cup and now in the Div 1 Cup. There was a bit of North Zone bias here as well, which some people are trying to say is the reason why they did so well. The zones kept pulling up near Flooded Frogs. This is very reminiscent of the Grand Finals, but again, NA had no such zone RNG. Their zones weren't all pulling north. I think it was just luck, and honestly, there's a lot of other good teams that had drop spots around here who didn't take anywhere near as much advantage, so I don't want to try and pretend that Vanya's team only won because they got good zones. Then we had another Gentle Mates team. I know Nikov was loving this. Marius coming in first. Then we had Akira coming in second with Kurama and Werix. That is also very, very exciting for the French fans, because if we go to a French LAN in Lyon for Global Championship in September and we do not have a single French player, that is going to be extremely depressing. Now, we have a lot of the French orgs like Solari, like Gentle Mates, like Havoc signing other players who aren't French who are doing very well. Some of them already qualified to the LAN, but I do want to see an actual Frenchman at a French LAN, and Akira, Kurama, and Werix right now are the best chance of doing that after getting a top 10 in the last Grand Finals. They are a double controller trio as well, so potentially the most recent aim assist buffs could be assisting them a lot. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Don't worry, I'm getting there. Then we had Ghost, Hyper, and Fireend coming third on 264. Pink, Nebs, and Kira doing very well, finishing in fourth place. Wheat, Nafrizzi, and Ilusha proving they weren't just carried last season by the forecast. They were actually in the top 2 for a lot of this tournament. Unfortunately, their last game getting a 0-kill 22nd saw them drop down, but still very impressive. Then we had Combeck, Shark, and Blaha. So Shark starting to really fire up and show, you know, what he's got. They managed to get 2 second places with a 15 and 11 elim second. Again, a rough game 6 dropped them down to 6th place overall. Then we had Malibuka, Ping, and Wox, who were contested at Demon's Domain for a lot of the tournament and then uncon for some parts of it. Looked much better when contested, actually. It was kind of strange. Towards the second half of the tournament when they were uncon, they actually started to do worse, got stuck in a few mid-game scuffles that didn't really go their way. Then we had Mixon, Focus, and Upple in 8th, Phyto, Cringe, and Jewel in 9th, and then Trulex, Tierney, and Skivvy to round out the top 10. I don't normally talk about West, but I have to give a huge shout out to Aegis, Pollo, and Rise, who played 3 matches of NA West Finals and won all 3 of them. A 6, 12, and 20 elimination win. They just came 3rd place in the finals, playing only 3 games out of 6. Because Epic forgot to change the times of NA West like they normally do to finish after the NA Central Finals, all 3 of these players were too busy playing Central. They didn't have time to queue up the start of West. By the time they got on, they could only play 3 games, and they had the perfect match history, which is just absolutely disgusting. Now, to finish things up for you controller players to get excited about, let's talk about aim assist. Now, this tweet came courtesy of Asarian. Again, if you don't know Asarian, they're a fantastic platform. You should definitely follow them on Twitter. Check out their website. They have a bunch of cool tools. I'm not sponsored by them. They have a bunch of drop maps, loot pass, a bunch of cool stuff they do for the community. And one of the things they do is they access the game files to make sure we actually have the information of what is changing in the game. And one thing they posted was aim assist has been buffed. Epic has just increased the outer pull strength for aim assist on hipfire from 0.5 to 0.6. So that's a 25% increase. And then on ADS, 0.4 to 0.6, which is a 50% increase to ADS aim assist. So hipfire is now 25% stronger. ADS is 50% stronger. This is very, very exciting. I hope this helps a bunch of controller players. Again, I'm a mouse and keyboard player. I don't want to go back to like chapter 2 linear aim assist when it was just basically felt like everyone was cheating. That is too far. But where we are right now, I definitely think controller needs to be made stronger. It makes up a massive part of the Fortnite player base, especially for casuals. I don't think we're anywhere close to having a bunch of pro players overrunning the game with aim assist because the game is cheating for them. We have like, I think 3 controller players qualified to LAN right now, and that is it. The only one on EU or NA is Reet, and it looks like there's not that many players close at all. I'm guessing we might only have 1 more potentially from EU and NA combined going to LAN, so there's no way you can argue the controller is even close to too strong right now. So I'm excited to see how these changes affect the game after having it for a couple days. Some pros like Teeny saying they can't feel it all. Some pros like Diox saying it's helping them a lot when they play on higher sensitivity. When they have a quick flick to try to hit their shot, they can feel it slow down. Reed originally in my chat was saying he really felt it on the ADS aim assist, but not so much on the hipfire. Now he's not really so sure if he's feeling it as much, so we'll have to see. Again, it is worth mentioning the overall value of aim assist right now. The overall strength of it is actually stronger right now than it was in early chapter 2, but Aim assist is a very complicated mechanic. There is a bunch that goes into it, and because of all the changes to human-like aim assist, it is nowhere near as strong as it was in early chapter 2, but they are definitely buffing it. This is also across all controller platforms. If you're on console, mobile with a controller, or PC with a controller, you will be getting these added aim assist changes, so hopefully it's helping you, and hopefully you feel like you're hitting your shots. In case you need to be reminded of what aim assist used to look like, click on this video here to check out when aim assist looked like aimbot. I promise you'll enjoy it.